Hello, welcome. Welcome to Gentle Yoga at 2 p.m. I'm Jeani, your host, and welcome to a really warm day of practice. So it's been about 80 degrees the last day or so, and I suggest having some water nearby as you're practicing. Hydration can affect your focus, your balance. Sometimes there's nausea if you're just needing to drink some water. So keep some water nearby. Be mindful of how in the warmer weather your levels of hydration are. And with that, we'll start at the back of the mat. Today's class, we're just going to revisit what we did last week. Some exercises to help us with issues of osteoporosis, balance, and hopefully increase our cultivation of bone density. And so let's just arrive at the mat, giving ourselves a moment or two to just notice the breath. And as you come into your practice, you're just noticing how the body is feeling in each pose, how it feels in that moment. So we'll begin by just simply focusing inward. We can bring our cultivation of breath into play, bringing the left palm to rest on the chest, right palm underneath the belly button. Give yourself a few breath cycles to notice how your body is feeling in mountain. As you cultivate that inhale, feeling the rib cage expand, parts of the body lifting perhaps at the top of the inhale. The exhale becomes a little more controlled as well. Firming the belly at the bottom of the exhale, helping to push the air out of the lungs. And as you become more attuned to each inhale and exhale, we begin to cultivate that yogic breath, the ocean breath. So bringing the sound of a wave or a sigh to the back of the throat on both the inhales as well as the outhales. And with that, our breath cycle becomes a little longer, and the body a little more focused and relaxed. Let's go ahead and bring our hands down to the sides. And with the next inhale, imagine lengthening through our mountain, feeling the energy drawing from the feet, up the legs, spine, and through to the crown of the head. On that slow, controlled exhale, we feel the energy returning, reverse direction, through the body, to the mat, to the earth. Inhaling, we start to roll the weight. Gravity shifts our weight towards the toes as we lean forward. We stop at that tipping point. Give your next breath the opportunity to roll the weight towards the heels, slowly, exploratory movements here. And then stop at that edge. Use your breath cycles to feel that forward to back mapping at our foundation. And we'll stop somewhere at the center, above the ankles, near to the heels. Dropping into our mountain, inhaling, lengthening, feeling energized upwards. We'll go ahead and roll the weight towards the outer edges of the right of the feet. Fully exhale to the right. We can inhale all the way up and then exhale over to the other side. That's a 3-part breath to Keep moving from side to side and just exploring that horizontal movement and mapping at our foundation of the feet. We'll meet at the center once you've identified that. Resetting the mountain once more. Let's lift up nice and tall. And we'll roll towards the left side this time. Body is upright. Fully exhale here. We can inhale. And then exhale to the other side. We're doing one more round of the horizontal. And then come on back to center. Inhaling nice and tall. Once more, we're going to just inhale upwards and then start rotating at the ankles. Small circles in one direction. And as we find the edge of our feet, start to tighten in the circles. Meet somewhere back at center. Mountain. Dropping back in. Lifting, energizing upwards. We'll move in circular direction, the opposite direction. So we're just moving now, getting that idea of the edge, and then tightening those circles once we find the limits of that perimeter. And then we return to our mountain once more, dipping in and resetting the mountain. Feeling a little taller, a little longer in the legs. Go ahead and lift the toes, lift the heels. And we'll move on up to oiling up the ankles, the hips, some of the shoulders with incremental swings that get progressively larger and larger. We have a nice loose body. We're just gently swinging from side to side. And as we find that momentum turns more and more to one side, we lift, follow the foot, pivot on the heel. Just allow the torso to gently rock from side to side. Maybe the momentum allows our arms just relax at our side without any activation of the arms. You get that nice rolling of the breath like an ocean wave. Hopefully you'll feel a little loosening, lubrication, those ankles, hips, shoulders. Start to slow down the pace. Let that movement peter out. Return to our mountain. Go ahead and reset. Once more. Looks like my mat can be reset just a little bit. Coming on up to the shoulders now. Making sure our feet are comfortably underneath the hips. Feet are hips distance apart. Gentle tuck of the tailbone. Just tucking it under and gently pressing the hips forward to align major joints. Ankles under the hips, hips under the shoulders. Eventually we'll get everything in an upright position. So with our next inhale, we're facing our palms forward and slowly lifting the shoulders up towards the ceiling. Exhale, roll them back and down. Let them melt into the mid-back. A total of 4 of these to help open up through the shoulder. Notice how that translates into the rest of the body. As you're rolling the shoulders or lifting the shoulders, you notice the body changing its position in the transition. After your very last set, go ahead and repeat another round, but this time we're going to inhale up and roll forward on the exhale though. So giving a total of 4 breath cycles here, inhaling up, exhaling, rolling forward and down. Seeing you have even distribution, soles of the feet. Careful not to roll out towards the edges. And here, after your last exhale, move on up to the neck. Resetting our mountain once more, palms facing forward. dip towards the right shoulder. Inhale to lift up. Exhale to turn the gaze and release. Couple more breaths here, a few more breaths. Feeling alignment between the shoulders, the hips, the knees, the ankles, all these horizontal pairings, having an even balance. While we're lifting upwards with the inhale and releasing in the shoulders and the neck and in the eyes towards the right. With that left side of the neck release fully, totally. And your very last exhale. Let's go ahead and inhale the eyes, the gaze, crown of the head lifting completely at the top of the inhale. All we have to do is exhale over to the left side. Inhale to lengthen. Exhale to turn the gaze gently. Allow the body to stop when it finds its natural edge, giving yourself 3 more full breath cycles to see how you can release to the right side of the neck, even in the eyes. Notice if the shift of position translates to a shift in position at the feet, the balance between your ankles, your hips, your shoulders. Try to keep everything horizontally balanced. Now for your very last exhale, go ahead and bring the eyes, the gaze, the crown of the head completely back up to the midline. With the exhale, allow the gaze to just float to the top of the mat, about 6 feet in front of you. It's a soft gaze. Each inhale is a lifting still of the body, a slight diagonal tilt at the crown of the head, the shoulders still melting down, the body feeling rooted with each exhale. Longer, taller mountain. And for your very last exhale, go ahead and bring the eyes back to center, past the center line, and see if you can just see that above you. Stop craning the neck when you can. Then use the next few breath cycles to release in the front of the throat. Maybe the tongue will all out. Give yourself a deep sigh. After your very last exhale, bringing the eyes back to the midline. And give any last minute movement, releasing of activated muscles you forgot to turn off. And when you're here, we'll go ahead and begin our modified sun salutations with our folds. Starting with our ragdoll. We're just going to bring the arms down, reaching with the fingers towards the floor. And then inhale, we're going to reach these arms upwards. And still reaching up, go ahead and exhale. Hinge at the hips, start to fold, and bring the hands down towards the feet. Hopefully as you come into your first extended fold, give yourself a slow ocean breath to help release. As you're unfolding in your first ragdoll, it's that lengthy forward fold. You can do a number of things, gently swaying the hips from side to side. See how that feels in the lower back. You can notice if you're holding on to the weight of your head, palm of the head gently, allow it to dangle like a plump line. Gently shaking your nose, gently nodding again. See if all of that helps you to release just a little more in the upper body. Hips to the heels are your center of support, while the tailbone down the spine, neck, and through that crown of the head is hopefully releasing with each successive breath. After 5 full breath cycles here, we can start our slow roll up by gently engaging the core, pressing into the feet, firming up thighs, rolling up the spine, walking the hands up to help facilitate our return to mountain. Palms facing forward, shoulders rolling back and down. A breath or two here to collect ourselves. Let the blood rush back to the head. And one more fold. Energize the arms downward. Inhale, extend the arms up, engaging the core. Lift up at the top of the inhale. Exhale, hinge at the hips and fold. Walk the hands down or float on down to your second fold. We're only here for about 3 full breath cycles. See if you can gently bring the palms to rest near to the floor. Maybe a gentle bend to the elbows will help. In here, do what you can to help facilitate that release. After your third breath cycle, we'll come out with another slow roll-up of your choice, or you can do a strong lift with a straight back. So inhaling, engaging the core, we're going to extend the hands and slow roll up or come all the way back up with a strong straight back. At the top, the hands come down, heart center in prayer. We can inhale, starting our walking meditation. Inhale, right foot up. Exhale, the ball of foot, the heel, the ball of foot, and toes down. Inhale, the left foot up. Heel, ball of foot, and toes down. And with each inhale and exhale, a full step forward brings us to the top of the mat, one breath at a time. Looking down at the fingertips at the top of the mat, press into the palms, inhale. Lifting up at the top, we're going to separate the palms and exhale. Hinge at the hips and fold. Fully exhaled here. Keep a bend to the knees if you need. Let's inhale for a half lift. We're going to lengthen through the back here, and your point of contact with your hands, whether on the floor with fingertips, palms, maybe at the ankles or shins or forearms to the thighs. We're just lengthening a few breaths here from the tailbone to the crown of the head, looking downward. And then exhale, fold. Just relax the chest towards the legs. Bring the hands to either side of the feet and step a right foot and then a left foot. You might have to take a couple of steps back, but that's okay. As soon as you inhale, we can bring the shoulders over the wrists and bring the knees down, untuck the toes, and stand in our high plank with a modified version of shins down on the floor. So bringing the shoulders over the wrists, but hopefully not too far over the wrists. So if you need to, you can lift up and just situate the shins a little further back. Palms are down, fingers splayed, and you're working towards feeling length through the arms best that you can. Inhale, let's tuck the toes, lift up the hips. Exhale, press into the extended arms so you can bring the hips back towards your first down dog. Here, keep your idea on an upside down U shape, eventually turning into an upside down V shape. So as we're inhaling and exhaling for the next 5 breath cycles, we might just notice how our legs are feeling. You can roll to the tips of the toes. You can exhale, gently press into those arms, hands, palms. See how that feels in the back. And then notice once more that the hips are moving upwards as the hands and the feet are moving downward. So we have 3 different energy lines here. One more deep inhale. Heels can be lifted still. They don't have to touch the floor. And you can roll the eyes towards the hands. And then exhale. Keep a deep bend to the knees if you need. Bring the hands to the back of the mat to your fold. Fully exhaled at the back of the mat into your fold. We'll inhale, lengthen through the back for a half lift. Exhale, fold once more. Engage the core, press into the feet, and come on up. Slow roll up or straight back with your strong inhale. Palms come down, heart center. in our second walking meditation. Inhale, engage the core, press into the palms, lift the right foot. Exhale the heel, ball of foot and the toes down. Inhale, left foot up. Exhale the heel, ball of foot and toes down. Engaging the core. If you feel a little wobbly, and pressing into the palms to help hopefully regain balance. And if not, just come on back. We'll meet at the top. Looking down at the fingertips, pressing into the palms. Inhale, watch the fingertips rise. At the top, we'll separate the palms. Exhale, engage the core and hinge at the hips. Float on down. Fully exhaled here. We'll inhale for a half lift. Spin the sits bones back. Try to lengthen through the legs, arms, and back. And then exhale. Bend the knees if you need. Bring the hands to either side of the feet. And step a right foot and left foot. Maybe many steps, but come on back with the feet. And then inhale. Shoulders up over the wrists. Fingers splayed. Nice long legs. And make sure your core is engaged. We're here for 3 breath cycles if you can. Think about the heels all the way to the crown of the head as one long line. You can always lift the hips higher. Don't let them droop below that diagonal line. Inhale, lift up the hips. Exhale, press the hips back to your down dog. And use the next 3 breath cycles to feel out your dog for the second time today in your practice. Maybe walking the dog, bending one knee and then the other. Alternatively, just getting a little bit of movement to the calves, to the hamstrings. Maybe a readjustment between the feet and the legs. And then one more inhale, we look to our hands with our eyes. And then exhale, bring the hands to walk to the back of the mat, to the fold. Fully exhaled at our fold, we can inhale for a half lift. Exhale, fold. Bend the knees if you need, engage the core, and come on up, inhaling. Back to mountain, hands down, heart center. Finally, down to the side. Give yourself a quick water break if you'd like. We'll be moving into our balanced position next. And so last time we started with a block to help us kind of engage and have a nice, stacked joint of the knee above the ankle, hip above the knee. So if you would like to use the block again, we'll just move right through that, starting with the right foot. If you just like your tree a certain particular way, you can go ahead and move into that as well. So I like to start with just a reminder of how the hips, knee, and ankle should stack. And just standing on the block gives me a good idea of how the hips should stack evenly. And eventually you get that point where you can hopefully just stand on the one block, the one leg, lift up, flex the left foot, and feel that you've got that nice stacking and that your right glute is engaged. Go ahead and bring the left toes back to the floor and bend the right knee to slowly bring your left foot flat onto the floor. And then we can switch positions and do the other one too, just to kind of get our muscle memory engaged. Stepping into our left foot, keeping that balance of the right toes there until we can situate the stacking of the left side of the body. We're not hyperextending that left knee or the right, but just finding that stability. And when you're feeling that, you can just tap up the toes and find that flexed right foot. And then when you're done, you can bring the right toes back and bend the left knee to help bring the right foot flat on the mat. And then you can bring those blocks, you can push those blocks away, and we'll just go into tree regularly. So standing with feet hips distance apart, we can inhale, bringing standing weight to the right leg. Find that nice stacking of the major joints, and then we can lift the left heel externally rotate that left hip. Walk the ball of the left foot's ball of the foot over so that you can rest the left heel on the right ankle. A lot of left and rights, isn't it? You know this basic shape. We're just trying to keep the bent legs hip open, externally rotated, while the standing leg is nice and solid, just giving us that stability without locking out the right leg, the right knee. All right. So once you find that stability is there, you can go ahead and bring your hands to heart center. And from here, just give yourself 3 good breath cycles. Imagine the ocean. And that soft gaze somewhere out in the distance. And after your 3rd breath, start with the hands if they're in prayer, if you grew them out. And then we can internally rotate the left hip before we land the left foot. Give yourself a nice little kick of the right leg forward, before you cross that midline. You're going to want to go out to the right side and then cross over to the opposite leg. Give yourself a little bit of time to deactivate those legs that have just really been holding you up for the last few breath cycles. We'll go ahead and move over to the other side. Standing in mountain, hips distance apart. Inhaling, standing weight to the left leg. Give yourself a moment or two. Find that stacking, that stability without locking out the left knee. And once that's available, go ahead and lift the right heel, externally rotate the right hip, and then walk the right foot over to the left ankle. And now we're finding that stability, giving yourselves about 3 breath cycles to find that edge. Are you opening up? Are you feeling solid at your tripod here at the feet? Once that's feeling nice and stable and your core is gently engaged but activated, you can think about bringing your hands to heart center. You can grow out your branches. And breathe for the next 3 breath cycles. As if you're just rolling on the ocean. And soft gaze out over the horizon. And when your 3rd breath cycle is done, releasing the hands, releasing the right heel, internally rotating the right hip before you let the right foot land. Gathering our bearings, we'll go ahead and release through the left standing leg forward, off towards the left before you cross the right leg. And I am dehydrated because I'm still hearing some popping noises. So I'm going to get a little bit of water here, but our next standing position is going to be, a balanced position will be chair. So again, you can use the block if you liked that last time, just having that block a few inches behind you. If you didn't like it, you don't have to do it. It's just something to help you in case you need a little bit of support in the heels. The second portion of our chair, the second round of chair, will be lifting up onto the balls of the feet. And sometimes having that block there might help. But if it's a little too cumbersome to have that there, you don't feel necessary. You can always just lift up on the heels and then set all the way down if you need. So here in our chair, and I'll go a little higher up, just so we can do one chair in our regular fashion. Feet together, the inside arches of the feet are going to present more of a challenge to your balance. So if you'd like to go there, you can have the inner arches touching, feet together. But if you don't, you can have feet underneath the hips. And finding your mountain, lengthening through the legs, finding an internal rotation of the thighs so that you have even distribution of your weight throughout the soles of the feet. Make sure your feet are not turning out towards the outer edges or in towards the arches, seeing a nice, steady, solid support system there. So inhaling, we can bring the arms out at the slight angle. Palms are facing each other. And at this point, just bend the knees. Just sink straight down. Feel the weight more towards the heels. And you just have to sink down just a little bit, maybe an inch, maybe half an inch, before you start to feel your glutes engaging, the quads engaging. And once more, feeling most of that center of gravity back here towards the heels. You can lift up the arms to kind of have this counterbalance to the weight being at the hips. That kind of helps by having these hands out here. You can also just bring the hips and the hands together, hands to the hips, and you can pelvic tilt under and pelvic tilt out. We want to make sure that we have that pelvic tilt under so that it lengthens, brings a length to our spine. And as we do that, we can once more bring the arms out and hopefully feel a little more secure in where that center of gravity is. Let's go ahead and inhale, straighten the legs, and just let the arms float to the sides. Give yourself a slight bend to the knees. And if you felt a little bit of pressure in the lower back, notice whether or not you're sticking the tailbone out. We want to tuck under the tailbone so we have that lumbar curved outwards just slightly. That'll release pressure there. So as we're sitting down in our chair, once more, we're going to bring ourselves nice and tall in our mountain. You can bring the hands above the head, but then bring them forward just slightly. And then bend the knees. Bring the hips to just sit straight on down. You'll feel it right in the glutes. You'll feel it right in the hips. You'll feel that center of gravity here more so than towards the balls of the feet. Now I'm going to step one step back, just in case you want to try it with the blocks. Hopefully, I've got a straighter mat here. So with the arms up, let's go ahead. We've got that nice strong chair going. We'll lift up, straighten the knees once more. Exhale, bend the knees. Feel that center right at the hips, and then roll to the balls of the feet. If you can stand here, great. If you need a little bit of help, you can always step back and find your block. But again, notice if you're sticking the tailbone out or if you're tucking it under. If you start to feel that in the lower back, you want to tuck it under. When you're ready to come out, straighten the legs first, bring the arms down, and just walk off the block or flatten the feet. And there. We've been there for a while. You're probably going to find some tightness here and in the quads. And that'll be from our practice here with chair. So coming on down now, let's move the block, and we'll be moving on to our hands and knees for a tabletop position. And we'll be moving into hero from there. So get your blankets out, and as you make your way to tabletop, find your support that you need. If you have trouble with your hands, bring them out a little bit. You don't need to have them directly underneath the shoulder, but it's best to have them a little further out. If you have sensitive wrists, if your knees are achy, you might need to have more of the support towards the shins, and the tops of the ankles can be free, either in a tucked position or with the tops of the feet, the tops of the toes on the mat. See how that feels. And again, we're not dumping weight into our knees, hopefully, so you may need to reposition your support underneath. And it just depends on where you are. But when you find that special tabletop position where you're comfortable, we're finding our shoulders are over our wrists. We have a neutral spine, and hips are over the knees. So just get yourself hopefully to this point, and we will begin our alternate limb balance. So just in case your blocks are in the way too, we'll be lifting our right hand, our right palm, and our left knee with the next inhale, just hovering it above the floor. And then our second round will extend to our best ability. Okay, so from tabletop, let's go ahead and inhale. Start to press into the left hand and the right shin, so you can lift the right hand and the left shin. Find that little bit of balance there, and then return to the mat, hand and shin. Take a breath here. Reposition yourself if you need to, and then we'll switch hands. Our left hand and our right shin will lift this time. So inhale. Let's stabilize into the right and the left shins. Right hand, left shin, and lift up the right shin and the left hand. Keeping the tabletop in its form, hopefully. A couple of breaths here, and then let these return to the mat. Take a breath and release. And then we'll reset into our tabletop once more, neutral spine. Take a deep inhale and start to lift the right hand, left knee, and extend to your best ability. You want to keep only the lifting to your ability. So if it's too much of a struggle to keep your breath and your stance for these few breath cycles that we're here, then you need to lower. It's a total of about 5 breath cycles, which I'm done with. So let's go ahead and bring the right hand and left shin back and reposition. You can shake out that left wrist if it's bothering you. You can twist, roll your right ankle a little bit, and then reposition your tabletop. We'll move this one more time. And this time we're lifting our left hand and our right shin. So inhale. Let's go ahead and extend to your best ability. We want to keep both hips in line with each other and shoulders in line. And keeping that deep activation of the limbs. We don't need to go up high. We just need to extend. And then if we can lift, that's great. And then we can go ahead after the 5th, bring down the left hand and the right shin and left hand, whichever feels better, but one down and then the other. And then we'll go ahead and just bring the hips towards the heels a little bit. Start to walk the hands towards our hero position, and hopefully you can just draw the knees upwards a little bit while you move them. Move the knees, the legs together. So now we're in our hero position. If this is not something you're comfortable with, just bringing that block in between the hips and the heels helps you to meet the distance. We're keeping the hands on the mat to help you as you're transitioning. And eventually, finding that spot, after about 3 breath cycles, finding that sweet spot in our hero, we're going to walk the hands up for an upright, or you can just breathe for 5 breath cycles. And hearing the ocean rolling in the background of the throat. You can rest the hands if you're in an upright hero. Palms can be up or down. But we're really just trying to sit comfortably and allow the ocean breath to help us release. After our 5th breath cycle, exhale. You can go ahead and bring the hands back to the mat. Start to lift up the hips. You can walk the hands out in front of you. And we're just going to bring the heels just out slightly. Don't twist on your kneecaps. Bring more of the weight towards the shins as you're just slightly moving the heels outward. They may not move much. They might just roll out in the same position. And then we can start to bring the hips back towards the heels. Use your block if you need to meet the distance, and stay where you can. You can always keep your hands at the side to help you there and help you get to that point where you're sitting comfortably. The hips eventually will be sitting on top of the heels or in between the heels, with the heels being on the outside of the hips. And giving yourself that time to unfold in your fixed fern position. You might have to be here holding on to much of your upper body weight with the arms. That's okay. If you're able to sit upright, we're just breathing 3 breath cycles from this point. You can release the hands once more, one of those last adjustments. You can place the palms facing up, behind you, at the sides, or just even on the lap. And after your last exhale, we'll bring the hands down to the mat, palms down. I'll walk the hips up once more. And coming onto the belly for a locust. So give yourself whatever adjustments, blankets or not. We'll make our way to the belly. And as you unfold here, we've been flexing the hips for a while, so just give yourself some time to savor being supported at the hips by the floor. You can have your hands pillowing underneath your forehead. Notice how the shoulders feel. And if your shoulders are stiff, it might be easier for you to just rest a cheek on the mat to one side with the arms down at your side. Just a couple breaths. If you're resting on the cheek, you'll want to gently press into the chest as you turn to rest on the other cheek, balancing out the rest on both cheeks. And hopefully that gives you enough time to feel a little less tented and flexed in the hips, a little more time to have released that last few positions of the flexed hip area. And then we'll go ahead and bring ourselves into just a brief sphinx. So you can walk the hands just above your shoulders, bring the elbows underneath the shoulders, and just bring the toe tips, flexing the feet. Use your toe tips to help you kind of lengthen through the legs. If you like the feet to be a little wider than the hips, that may be a little more challenging. If you have a locust that feels good that way, then go ahead. But in this version, we're just having the feet right below the hips. And then we're going to slowly lower down our chest from the Sphinx and bring the backs of the hands to pillow underneath the brow line. Elbows should be at about the shoulder length. Give yourself one good deep breath cycle here. Then go ahead and release the face. Allow the mouth, chin, nose to gently rest on the mat. Backs of the hands, arms extended down your side. We're going to take an inhale and just take your right leg and lengthen. Keep contact between your leg and the mat. Just going to slide that leg long by pointing the toes, just feeling that length. Engage your calf, your glute, your quads. Your kneecap should just gently lift. You're not hyperextending your right knee, but you should feel an activation of those muscles from the glutes all the way down to the ankle. Just nice and long. And then relax that leg. Go ahead and just roll on the top of your quad there. Just give it a nice gentle jiggle. And then let it release. Take the next deep inhale and extend through the left leg. Just keep in contact. The top of the foot, the entire foot is still in contact with the mat. And the leg is lengthening. And as you activate the muscles from your left glute down your hamstrings, quads, calves, shin muscles, and ankles, hopefully your kneecap will lift just slightly and the engaged leg will be nice and long. And the tips of the toes might even just be touching the floor. And then relax. Let that relax. And you can gently jiggle the left leg. Just slight movements left and right at about like the hip area. You'll feel just a gentle rolling, hopefully. With the next inhale, we're going to extend through the arms. Palms are down. We're going to do the same thing, but through all limbs like a starfish. We're just going to lengthen on the floor. point the toes, gently lengthen. You don't have to be too aggressive, but we're just actively lengthening our limbs. The tops of the feet are nice and long, toes are gently pointed, hopefully no cramping occurs here. If so, then flex the foot and relax. But as we're nice and long, then we're going to exhale and release. Take one more deep inhale, and as you slowly inhale, get nice and long once more. And at the top of that inhale, see if you can lift up the hands and feet at the same time. Feel most of the pelvic bowl, the lower back, the belly and chest engage so that you can lift up the hands and the feet. And then slowly bring the feet down and the hands down if they were lifted. And turn the gaze to the right or left. Bring the arms to the sides and breathe. You can soften the gaze. Gently inhale, press into the chest and the belly and turn the head, grazing the nose so you can rest the left cheek or the opposite cheek on the opposite side. Make sure your neck isn't curving off to this side. We want it in alignment with your spine. We're just turning the face. We're not curving the neck. Oh, and I can always tell when I've relaxed because my shoulders will just melt into the mat. Sometimes it just takes that nice deep exhale to see what you're lifting, what you're actively holding. Alrighty, let's go ahead and gently press into the chest so you can bring the gaze back to the mat, bringing the hands up into the front, and we're just going to make our way onto our back for Shavasana. So I like to just roll onto my side and then onto my back. Sometimes I'm on the mat, sometimes I'm not. So if you have a favorite way of getting onto your back, we're just going to finish out this portion by deep windshield wiping to either side and holding it for the first set and then going a little faster with the next set. And you always have the option to adjust if you have a special thing you like to do with your spinal twist. This is just a variation of that in a deep windshield wipe. So in our bridge, we're making sure that our feet are not too far from us. We can reach down, maybe brush the fingertips against the heels. Feet are hips distance apart. And just roll on your sacrum, left to right, just a little bit. Just make sure that you're not leaning into one side of the sacrum. Once you find center, then you can roll the pelvic bowl up and down, tucking under the pelvic bowl and sticking out that tailbone. And then let that relax. Hopefully you find a little more release and centering in just that rolling action. And then you should have just a slight, relaxed lower back. Hopefully you're not lifting too high. If you're still lifted, just gently roll down, flatten out that lower back area if you can, and then let the glutes release, and your pelvic bowl will hopefully just relax to its center. All right, that being said, let's bring the arms out to the side, about a foot off to the side here, so we have plenty of space to windshield wipe over. And again, the feet are not moving position other than just rolling on the edge. That's all. We're not going to be moving position of our feet. So take the next inhale and just slowly let the knees roll to the right. As the knees roll, the feet roll, and eventually you stop where your body stops. So the knees may roll all the way over. You might have the left knee somewhere on your right calf. You might have the left knee hovering somewhere in the air. You might like to have a block as your landing spot for your right knee. Or you might just allow gravity to help you release until the right knee meets the floor. Whatever it is, you're giving yourself that space. It takes between 3 to 5 breath cycles to kind of release any hidden self-protective reflex that the body has. But hopefully by the end of that initial exploration of the edge, you can find that sweet spot and then breathe. And that's where your rolling ocean breath helps you to really engage the parasympathetic side of your nervous system to help you release. Your chemical, physiological functions will start to occur. Your body will just start to release all these chemicals. Anyhow, hopefully feeling that top left hip, releasing all the psoas connections between the top of the thigh and the rib cage, that just deep muscle connection there. Okay, and as we've been here for quite a while, we're finishing up that nice last breath cycle, the 5th one. So you may need to help lift, guide the knees back up with your hands, but we're going to inhale and just roll the left sacrum. The knees come up, the rolling of the sacrum back onto the mat, and then bring the hands back to the sides of the hips, about a foot away once more. Hips distance apart are our feet. And let's go ahead and bring the knees to slowly roll towards the left. We're just going on to the left side of our feet and giving ourselves 3 to 5 breath cycles to find that first edge. We might have to make subtle adjustments with the placement of our palms, maybe our face, our last gaze position. But once we find that sweet spot, we're breathing 5 good deep breath cycles from there. Rolling on the surface of the ocean with our ocean breath. Hopefully finding more release now on the right side. The right psoas, releasing the support, the tension and connection between the right thigh, right rib cage, the balance between the upper body and the lower. And after your last breath cycle here, we'll bring our hands to help guide the knees, the sacrum, back onto the mat. Make your adjustments once more. A nice long spine in alignment with the neck. And keeping the legs nice and long, feet directly underneath the hip bones, or just a little wider than the hips, pointing towards the corners of the mat if you'd like. Just let the toes roll away from each other and relax. Allow the belly to be soft. Arms are extended to the side, palms facing up. I'll be sitting up to mind the time. But for the next 5 minutes, just allow your body to respond to today's practice. Release the tongue from the roof of the mouth. Soften your eyes. And when you hear the 3 bells, we'll awaken. bringing the mind back to the body. Take note of sounds outside the room, sounds within the room, and finally back to the breath. Notice the air as it enters the nose, the air as it exits the nose. And as you reconnect to the body vessel once more, I invite you to move your fingers, toes, rock the body in any way that helps you to feel reconnected and a return to the body vessel. We'll be moving into our breath exercise, so join me in an upright position. You can be in staff with your legs out in front of you. You can be in an easy seated position of just one leg out in front of the other. Not exactly crisscross applesauce, but sort of more like like a sukhasana, like a one shin that's out in front of the other. We're not having a knee that's resting on an ankle so much as we're just having one leg that's kind of folded out in front of the other. So whichever upright position is good for you now, we'll just end our class with our alternate nostril breathing exercise. So give yourself a time to get into an upright position. Feel balanced on the sits bones. Rock from side to side, front to back if you need. And then we'll go ahead and just take our left hand in Chin Mudra, resting it on our left thigh, right hand in our Vishnu Mudra, or bringing the two fingers to rest on the brow while we close the right nostril with the right thumb, left nostril with the right ring finger knuckle. So, giving ourselves a nice deep inhale. Let's go ahead and close the right nostril. Exhale through the left. Fully exhaled, engage the core, lift up the pelvic floor. Close and, inhale through the left. Fully lifting up through the shoulders. At the top of the inhale, we're going to close the left nostril and exhale through the right. Fully exhaled, engage the core at the bottom of the exhale. Close. Inhale through the left. Close. Exhale through the right. Inhale through the right. Close. Exhale through the left. Inhale through the left. Close. Exhale through the right. Inhale through the right. Close. Exhale through the left. Inhale through the left. Close. Exhale through the right. Inhale through the right. Close. Exhale through the left. Inhale through the left. Close. Exhale through the right. Inhale through the right. Close. Exhale through the left. Last round. Inhale through the left. Close. Exhale through the right. Inhale through the right. And release the hand. Release the mudras. And let the breath return to its natural state. Bringing the hands to heart center. Thank you so much for joining me, Jeani, here at the ACC Community Room for Gentle Yoga at 2 p.m. I hope you have a wonderful day. Namaste.